Hello. All right, we'll get started probably in about 2 minutes. Just give time for everyone to hop on. You may want a few props today, maybe not. You can use things like yoga props, like pillows, bolsters, blocks, things like that. But you can also grab whatever you have available around your house. So you can grab pillows from the couch or from your bed, blankets. I'm sitting on a folded blanket myself. Those are great. And give folks a few minutes to trickle in here and then we'll get started. You won't need a whole lot of space today. We will stay seated or reclined for the whole practice. No standing up, sitting down. And we'll give options for all of the poses we're doing today, so you find something that works best in your body. I'll give it just another minute for folks to hop on. And don't worry, I have I have a little timer on my screen, so it will be actually a minute and not an Ariel made-up minute. And while we're waiting, hello, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Ariel. We'll do about 30 minutes of some super gentle yoga. Like I said, sitting down or reclined the whole time. Won't have to move around a whole lot. Have some props, maybe. You've got time now to grab a few things. We'll start in 20 seconds if you want like a really precise countdown. So when you're ready, come to just a comfortable position. That can be seated, it can be lying down. We're going to do a very brief guided meditation, and then we'll move in through some postures. If anyone is, nobody get up, but if anybody is still near their computer, can you send me like a little like emoji or something just so I can know that my microphone is working? Because it was giving me some problems today. So when you're in your comfortable position, maybe you're seated seated flat on the floor. I'm on a little, I got a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm sitting on a folded up blanket. You can sit on a pillow, anything. And you're, of course, welcome to lie down here as well. You can lean your back up against something if you'd prefer. And your shape is whatever is comfortable. I don't know why this is comfortable for my legs. You don't have to look like this. You can have a really wide stance. You can have your legs outstretched. Whatever looks good. Excuse me, feels good. It all looks good. It's been a day already, can you tell? You can have palms down, palms open. I like palms on the body lately. Feels very supportive for me. Whatever feels good for you. Maybe a big cycle of breath or two. And as we move into a little bit of meditation, if you're feeling not quite present on your mat just yet, maybe do a little visual orienting, looking around your space, maybe looking for one particular color in all of the places that it exists in your room. Maybe tracing the seams of the walls, the ceiling. Maybe listening for what you can hear. Ever so slowly letting your area of awareness shrink a little bit. Slowly until you're here on your mat. Maybe you soften the gaze, maybe close the eyes. Stillness is optional. I like a little wiggle almost constantly. So you can have a wiggle, a sway. You can move your hands on your thighs, on your body. You can rub jewelry if you've got that. Anything anything that feels supportive to you is what I would like for you to do in this class. Maybe let's take the focus to our breath, knowing that if for whatever reason focusing on the breath or the body is not grounding for you, ignore me for a few moments. But if you are focusing on the breath, let's just notice, where is it? Is it more in the belly or in the chest? Is it happening through the mouth or the nose? Is it comfortable? Does it require a little bit of work today? Now, all we're doing is building a picture. We're just being curious, not changing, not judging, not assuming that it should be anyway. Just notice. Maybe you let your attention wander outward just a little bit, so you're exploring the physical body, finding areas of any kind of sensation, whether that's something uncomfortable, maybe pain, maybe something feels really good, feels relaxed or comfortable, maybe even lack of sensation is pleasant. Again, just building a picture. What is your state at this moment? And we'll start to move into some very gentle movement. You're welcome to keep your eyes closed if you'd like. Wherever you're at, take a nice, comfortable inhale. Maybe lengthen the spine as you do so. As you exhale, we're going to just let one ear tip over to one shoulder. Whenever you inhale, whenever it happens, float the head back to center. Your next exhale will take you off to the other side. And we're going to move back and forth a few times like this, inhaling to center, exhale to the other side, letting your breath dictate your pace. And sometimes this movement it's almost like a little bit of a trick, because it's very simple, it's very subtle. If you're not somebody who has pain here, it may feel like not quite enough, but we're just easing in. We're chill. We're just hanging out, moving real slow. When you've completed the second side, hopefully you remember which side is the second side. We're going to keep breath and movement, but we're going to look over our shoulders. So inhaling here at center, exhale, just look over one shoulder. When you inhale, coming back to center, exhale, go to the other side, letting your own breath dictate your pace here. And again, as we're getting started, noticing sensation, not really going for a big stretch, not trying to achieve anything, just seeing, where are we right now? Good, go ahead and finish up that second side. We'll come back to center. Take your hands out in front of you, but keep a nice big bend in those elbows. Very gentle fists, and we'll draw some circles here. You may hear cracking, popping. You may hear my cracking and popping. It's fine so long as it's not painful. If it's painful, please refrain from this movement. Change directions. There it goes. For some reason, my right wrist just sounds like popcorn in this particular direction. Beautiful. Take one hand out in front of you, again, keeping a nice bend in that elbow. You're going to take your other hand either up over top or maybe off to the side, but grabbing the palm of the hand, very gently pulling back towards your chest. Maybe you're feeling a little sensation in the forearms. What you want to avoid here is hyperextending that bottom arm. And then if you're hypermobile, be conservative in your movements here. Fingers pointed down, grabbing the back of the hand, not so much the fingers, very gentle, pull back. Maybe you feel sensation here, maybe not. Wrists are, I don't know, they're very, very different from person to person. So some people are super flexible, they never feel anything. Some people are very sensitive in the wrist. Change sides, reaching up and over. So I'm very cautious to direct you with what sensation you quote unquote should feel, because there's nothing you should feel, fingers down, in any of these poses. It's all about what feels best in your body. And sometimes that is lack of sensation. And that is still yoga. It's still good for you. I'm going to come flat onto the floor. So I was sitting on a blanket. These next few poses, I don't know, to feel more stable on the floor here. Take your fingers generally in the area of your shoulders. Fingertips do not have to touch. As you inhale, we're gonna open up the arms, poof the head, chest, maybe tip the head back. Exhale, do the total opposite. So coming forward, maybe your elbows touch, maybe dropping the chin. Inhaling, come forward. Good, go ahead and continue at the pace of your own breath. And let me talk you through some things to pay attention to here. Your shape might look 1,000,000% different than mine. It might not look like what I'm doing at all. But so long as you feel like you've got a little bit of opening and a little bit of not opening, then you're doing great. If you need to make this really big, if your shoulders are just a little sore, a little tight, just don't really like this, create lots of space. Good, last one here. We're gonna do some side bends and some twists. So if you have props, you may want similarly height on either side of you. We'll inhale, take the arms up. If your shoulders are iffy, keep the arms low. They don't have to, whatever up is for you. Inhale, good. Exhale, we'll take one hand or forearm to the floor or to a prop. Up and over with that other hand, and we're gonna stay here for a few breaths. So some things to check in. If your neck is like, well, I don't really like this, turn your gaze down towards the floor. See if that helps. If you want a deeper stretch, more sensation, reach really hard with those top fingers. Let that top hand dictate your stretch here. If you're feeling tired, like this bottom arm is just tired today, maybe come down onto your forearm. And another thing you can play with, if you want more, if you feel good where you're at, stay where you're at and just completely ignore me. Maybe open your chest. Maybe close your chest. Maybe move back and forth through both. There's no correct way to do this shape. The correct way is to do it in a way where sensation feels beneficial to you. When you're ready, inhale, let's come back up. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So I started with my hand down, so I'm gonna go hand down first. Take a few breaths here. And here, hopefully you cannot hear my dog screaming at the neighbors. So I'm gonna move a little bit. I'm gonna rotate open. I'm gonna probably come down onto this forearm now. Reach up and over with the top. It's rare for me to sit still in a pose because I don't know where my good sensation is on any given day at any given time. So I wanna explore and find it. I know my ideal sensation is not my dog screaming. Go ahead, inhale, come back up. I really hope you can't hear it. Now we're gonna come into a twist. Exhale, twist, and stop wherever you stop moving is where we're gonna stop for right now. Let your arms just fall down. I'm gonna take my arm that's crossing my body up and over my thigh, but that's accessible to me. If that's not comfortable or accessible to you, you can open yourself up more towards the front. My back hand is just a little bit off my back hip back here. And as I'm staying here, I'm being mindful that I'm not pulling with either of my hands. I'm being mindful that for what it feels like in my body, lots of length in my spine, nice and tall. And then playing with my neck and my head. Looking too far over my back shoulder makes me, it almost makes me a little bit queasy, honestly, that sort of stretch. So I keep my head pretty far forward in this pose. So know that you've got a wide range of wherever feels good. On your next inhale, whenever it happens, we'll take the arms back up to the ceiling. Exhale, beautiful. To the other side, same thing. So not pulling yourself into this pose, letting your torso stop turning wherever it stops. Maybe take a few breaths here. Now you know your body, you know, or maybe experiment. Maybe you're about to find out right now. A little weight in this front hand helps me to twist a little bit deeper. I know that if I pulled really, really hard, I could go several inches probably, but this like maybe 1 inch feels great for me right here. What works in my body might not work in yours. I hear the dog right outside the door, right there. I'm just waiting for the screaming. When you're ready, inhale, take your arms up. How dare anybody else exist in this world? She's so upset about it. All right, we're gonna do a sort of butterfly here, but let me give you a million options so you find what works in your body. I'm gonna stay seated. You can be reclined if you'd like. You can lay flat. If you're near a wall, you can even lean against a wall. I love that. The spacing of your feet and your groin doesn't matter. Something super tight is gonna give you a different feeling than something super far away. I tend to go a little bit farther, but I just do. That's just where my legs fall. So any distance is fine. Leaning back if this is already really intense. Option to take some props underneath your knees for some support as well, even going up way super high if you need. We're gonna breathe and move here. So maybe if you're seated, if you're reclined, relax, enjoy. Inhale, super straight spine, tall spine. Exhale, lean forward, maybe let's say like 25% of how far you can go. Inhale, either coming back or just straightening the spine. Exhale, coming in maybe, 40%. Inhale, either lengthening, coming back up, not moving at all, if that's your preference. Exhale, settling in. We'll do that at your own pace. Let's say 3 more cycles of breath. And as a friendly reminder, it doesn't have to look like this. Maybe you're moving way more than I'm moving. Maybe you are moving, but if I were to watch you, I wouldn't be able to tell because the movement is so small. Either of those extremes, anywhere in between, is absolutely acceptable. Now, you've completed your 3rd cycle of breath. Let's hang out here for only about a minute, so not super long. So with that in mind, if hanging forward, allowing gravity to pull you down is comfortable, you're welcome to stay here. If you're like me and you're like, a moment to rest, yes, please. Grab a prop or several, depending on how you feel today. Anything you have available to bring the ground closer to you. And then from here, if you need a little extra height, you can stack fists, you can stack forearms. You can keep this more active. You don't have to hold still. You can keep that breath and movement if you'd like that. As we settle here very briefly, if you'd like, you have the option to do a quick body scan. See if you notice anything different. Are sensations any different than when we started? If the answer is yes, I find that very interesting. If the answer is no, I also find that very interesting. Bodies are just fascinating. They're just so cool and awesome and so different. We're going to come out of that, clear your space of props. We'll take the legs straight out. So if you are lying on your back, take your feet right up into the air. If you're seated here with me, same idea. This can be a little harder to get movement in depending on how your body is. So utilize the space behind you. If you're sitting up and you want to lean back, what you want is just some sensation probably in the back of the legs if you don't know what you're going for in this pose. I'm a big fan of a strap here. So strap, towel, t-shirt, blanket thrown around the feet if you'd like. You can do exactly what I'm doing without the strap. But same idea. So inhaling, either straightening or pulling out of the pose. Exhale, coming in, not all the way, a certain percentage. Inhaling, either backtracking, straightening, adjusting, maybe nothing. Leaning forward. If you're on your back and you're exhausted, holding your legs up, you can put them up a wall and or grab a strap, just like I've got here. Let's do 4 more cycles of breath and movement. And then after your 4th, we'll stay and hold. For my hypermobile folks, maybe take something underneath your knees. If you're seated, a rolled up towel, blanket, a circular bolster, just to not hyperextend as you're in this pose here. Now, when you get to a place where, or I guess after you've finished your 4 cycles of breath, we'll stay and hold. You can keep your movement if you'd like. And let me talk you through some things here. If you have fat on your body, like everybody on this universe does, depending on how much you have and where it sits, this might be a little uncomfortable for you. When there are times when I do this pose where any pressure on my stomach, it's just awful. Like it just doesn't feel good. Today is not one of those days. I feel sort of okay here today. But if it were one of those days where I just don't want it, the way that I fix this is create a little extra space in between the legs. I'll even sort of pull and move and squish my belly to sit where I want it to. Sometimes I need to pick up and physically adjust the fat and the muscle that sits on my thighs and my butt. That one always. That's not like a sometimes thing. But again, here is an example of how you make this pose work for whatever your body is. If your body is not shaped like mine, adjust your sizing. Play with the shape of this. Even day to day, it's going to look probably super different in your body day to day. And that's okay. You shouldn't do, I just told you earlier, I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do, but you shouldn't have the same exact pose every single time. Come out of that. We're going to straddle. If you're reclined, if you're lying on your back, very gently lower your feet to the floor, and then you'll just do a reclined straddle. So opening the legs up, left and right. This is another one wildly different depending on your body. So maybe your legs are this wide, maybe they're straight right out to the side. Sorry, no cursing on this site. Maybe they're more narrow. The hardest part of my job, I'll have you know, is not cursing. You can lean against this wall if you like. We're going to do the same thing. A few cycles of breath and movement. Let's say 5. And then we'll stay and hold. So either lengthening the spine or pulling out. Exhale, coming in, leaning forward, or not, or don't. Even if you simply, in your mind, imagine what it would look like or feel like or both to move in this pose, and you don't actually physically move your body, you still will get a huge portion of the benefits of moving. I wasn't counting. I hope you were counting. Let's say this is 4 breaths. So we'll do one more. And a little stillness, maybe, if you want it. Again, you can let your body be wherever it is. Maybe gravity is helping to pull you a little more deeply into this pose. That's certainly not a requirement. So don't feel like that has to be the thing that you're working for. If you get to a level of sensation that feels acceptable to you and you want to stay there and take some of the work out of it, it is time to build your prop tower. So taking truly whatever you have sort of vaguely close to you. I don't see her face here, but I have a longtime student who frequently uses her dog as a prop, which is a wonderful prop. If they hold still, it's a wonderful prop. Mine, no, not so much. She doesn't get to join. But if you have a calm animal, you can use that. You can use books. You can use stuffed animals, chairs, stools, anything. Anything can be a yoga prop. Let's all come onto our backs so long as that's accessible and comfortable to you. If it is not, please stay seated. You may want a strap handy, so have that nearby just in case. Ever so slowly, so long as this is good for you, laying on your back. If you're seated, you can mimic what I'm doing here with my lower half. So long as it's good, of course, in your body. Let's windshield wiper the knees. So letting them fall sort of kind of to the left, sort of kind of to the right. Making this movement as big or as small as you want. You are certainly allowed to let your opposite hip pull off the floor here. I know that's something that's cued often in yoga, is to keep your opposite hip flat on the ground. You do not have to do that here. Lovely. Come back to center. We'll turn this into a spinal twist. So scoot your hips a little bit to the left. And I'm all backwards. Scooting your hips to the left. Let your knees fall to the right. Now, backs are tricky, so maybe you're grabbing a prop or 10 to go under your bottom knee. If you are looking for more sensation, consider pulling your knees closer to your chest. If you want less sensation, if this is just no good, it's overwhelming, you just don't like it, you can either straighten the legs way a lot, or of course come out of it, maybe go back to your windshield wipers. If you're seated, you're holding the twist like we did before. Taking a few breaths here. Ever so gently work yourself back to center. Clear your props, get them prepped for the other side. Scoot your hips to the right. Knees to the left. And then getting yourself settled here. Maybe you come into the pose, you take a moment, and you think, okay, how does this feel? Is this acceptable? Am I gonna make it? I think if you have to ask the question, am I gonna make it? You should probably grab a prop. Consider something under the knees. Pulling the knees closer to the chest, maybe for more sensation. Option to straighten the legs to lessen the sensation. Option to come up to seated, turn it into a twist. This is our last pose before we finish with a little mini meditation. In your own time, take your knees back to center. I'll give you a minute for like a super giant stretch here, stretching your feet out, arms up overhead if you'd like. Any movement that is calling to you, you can address it now. And we are going to come into our final meditation. So I will sit. You're welcome to stay lying down. You're welcome to come up to seated with me. If you'd like to move into some other pose, and do your meditation there, you're welcome to. This will be very brief, only about 2 minutes. Option to soften the gaze or close the eyes wherever you are. Maybe taking a big breath. If you feel like you have energy to move still, go ahead and sigh out or flutter the lips or create some sound on your exhale. If you're feeling super mellow and the movement of a large breath is going to throw you off, don't. Keep your breath small and comfortable. And you have the freedom and the permission to take whatever percentage of what I'm saying that's helpful to you, even if it's only 1%. If everything else is garbage, you can ignore it. Maybe checking in with the body, noticing sensation. Wherever you are, of course, you're welcome to stay here longer. So if you'd like to come out, I'll cue you now, but if you want to stay, please ignore. Wherever you're at, maybe now allowing the breath to take up more space in the body. Maybe bringing in a little movement, wiggling the fingers, the toes, maybe swaying the head, the knees, the hips, the body side to side. If you're lying down, you have the option to roll off onto one side before coming up to seated. But let me validate anybody like myself with very short arms that is not accessible to. You can just fling your body up like I do. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice. Again, my name is Ariel. I'll be here probably every week about this time. I'd love to share practice with you. Again, I hope you had a lovely time. I'll hang around for a minute or two if you'd like to chat in the comments. But again, thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you feel something nice. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone.